This is Wretched Radio with Todd.
Well, thank you very much. Once again, this is Wretched Radio, heard from my buddy. Well, I think he's my buddy. I don't know if he returns the sentiment. Paul Marty at tomorrowclubs.org. Rejoicing they are. I was taught, apparently I'm Yoda, is what I am right now. By the way, did you see the Star Wars Part 17 or whatever it is? Do we have any unanswered questions at this point? Do we all get it? Has everything been resolved just yet? Paul Marty from Tomorrow Clubs, thanking everybody who sponsored a Tomorrow Club in the month of December. Close to 400 folks. I don't know the exact number, so I could be off on this, but it's not by much. Over 1,000 Tomorrow Clubs are sponsored by wretched people like you. That means every week, kids in small villages, poor towns in Moldova, Ukraine, Georgia, not the state. We're too busy playing football. And the nation of Ukraine, over 1,000 clubs per week. Kids gather, about 30 kids gather, and they hear the gospel every single week. Thanks to you. That rocks. So thank you very much. If you'd like to join the fun, and it is way fun to watch what God is doing. I'm sorry. It's awesome. It's cool. It's awe-inspiring. It's humbling. It's a lot of things, but it's really fun to watch what God is doing over there because a lot of kids getting saved. Mommies and daddies getting saved. The church is getting revitalized. So thank you for that. Find out more at tomorrow.org/wretched club. I can't keep any of these addresses straight. tomorrowclubs.org/wretched. Got that one right. Speaking of Star Wars, let me see if I can find this. Randy Alcorn from Eternal Perspectives Ministries. He wrote a review on the Yoda movie, and I think that it's worth taking a listen to, not so much because it's a review of a movie, because if you're like me, chances are pretty good you don't care. Nevertheless, he noticed something. Apparently, Randy Alcorn is like, okay, look, they got bad theology, but you can go see it as long as you understand it. That's Randy Alcorn's take. So at any rate, he did a review on Star Wars. And what I thought was remarkable about the article was not so much the theology that is bad in Star Wars, but the equally bad theology in evangelical Christianity, specifically duality. That our university is there's two people, a good and a bad, and they're duking it out, and let's see who's going to win. That's Star Wars theology. But that is not evangelical theology, and I thought that was worth noting. All right, Tony, prepare to represent the tens and tens of people who are listening to this here. What do we call tomorrowclub.org, Wretched? What is the opposite of good?
Bad.
All right, we'll accept that. What's the opposite of above?
Below.
Mm-hmm. What is the opposite of God?
Nothing. Oh.
Say what? Very good. You actually got that right, because there's nothing equal to God. There's nothing the opposite. Now, if you want to say that there's an opposite of the devil, you can do that, but it ain't God. This from Randy Alcorn. Where are my cheaters? I can't see a thing in here. Here we go. There are elements of Eastern mysticism and New Age with sprinklings of pantheism, but the most fundamental and pervasive error is dualism, like as in Zoroastrianism. There are also, this is Star Wars, there are two equal and opposite forces that are duking it out, but that is not the way it is in the universe. Who's going to win is not in question. Now, the devil, he keeps thinking, I'm going to keep giving this thing a shot, but he's not going to win. How do I know? Because God never loses. Because he can't. Because the devil is not his opposite. This is not a good versus evil. That's accurate, what I just said. This is not good versus evil. You say, but aren't they the opposite? Yes, but that's not the way it plays out in the universe. God has never bitten a nail. God has never fretted or been concerned about who's going to win this thing. Why? Because the devil is God's devil, and he's on a leash. And he only does that which God permits. He doesn't cause it, but he permits it. And so it's completely under control. If you think the universe is out of control, I promise you, it is under God's total control. This isn't the showdown at the OK Corral. From Randy Alcorn. There are not two equal and opposite forces in the universe. Who is going to win? We know. The God of the Bible is utterly unique, transcendent, and personal. That is God, not the force that is portrayed in Star Wars. But Christians do this very same thing. Oh, we understand there's a spiritual battle, but it's all under God's control. It's all under God's providence. This isn't going to be like the Georgia-Alabama game. Oh, they score. Who's convinced it's going to be over? Oh, nope. It's not the way it works out. God permits evil. He uses sin sinlessly. And that's good news for us, Christian, as long as God is good. If God isn't good, we should be scared of the doctrine of sovereignty, but he is good. Randy Alcorn, Satan is not the opposite of God. He's the opposite of Michael, the unfallen archangel. That's his opposite, because God has no opposite. I can't believe Tony got this right. To make a created being the opposite of the creator results in lots of problems, not the least of which is thinking that there's a battle over who's going to pilot the earthly ship with the results in question. That is not the case. Satan isn't everywhere. He's not all-powerful. He's not all-knowing or anything else that God is. While he is capable of great influence, he is ultimately a dog on a leash. I am the Lord, there is no other. I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. Not sinful stuff. But God can do anything that appears hard to us. Storms, power going out. Sorry, illness. We got to come to grips with this. If we really believe Psalm 139, that God is the one who knits us together in our mother's womb, then we also need to agree with Psalm 39 that says he numbers our days and he knows them. And if we get sick, it is because God has ordained it. Does God rejoice at seeing people suffer? Of course he doesn't. But we need to keep reminding ourselves, is God seen as more glorious because of evil or not? The answer is yes. We wouldn't have a redemption. We wouldn't have a cross. We wouldn't have the great gospels that we have. God would not be... His attributes of mercy, grace, and loving kindness would not be put on display if evil did not happen on this planet. God is seen as being better, and this is a temporary evil world that we live in, and when he does indeed determine today is the last day that you're going to breathe on this planet, then we will enjoy him forever, and we will enjoy him more because of it. Let's not forget that. We try to be God's PR person and couch the whole evil thing. We don't need to do that. No, we don't want to do it callously. Of course not. But we don't want to throw out God with the he's got to be nice bathwater. I'm not exactly sure that worked well. But speaking of Buddhism, was reading an article. Let me see if I can find this one. It was an article in a non-Christian publication talking about an issue that we've been on about for a long time, and that is the issue of mindfulness. And here it is right here. Remember, you're listening to one of the most organized programs on this station at this time. Andy Lee has a job title. He's the Chief Mindfulness Officer at Aetna. The Chief Mindfulness Officer. I'll bet that's a six-figure position. Wow. Mindfulness, a meditation practice that is, in essence, Buddhism without Buddha. You need to send this article from National Review to your local school. Please quit practicing Buddhist religion with my kids. Stop it. Mindfulness is Buddhism wrapped up in a ridiculous package, and it's everywhere. Goldman Sachs has the mindfulness bug. They've got a mindfulness app. They've surveyed big companies. 1 in 5 companies surveyed offered mindfulness training, with another 21% planning to do so. General Mills employees, their executives have access to a 7-week mindfulness program. Scientifically, mindfulness is way down there with yoga, acupuncture, and homeopathy in terms of empirically observable results. It's Buddhism. There's a fellow, Ronald Purser. He's a professor of management in the business school at San Francisco State University. He's an ordained teacher in Zen Tego Buddhist tradition, stating, I've been to a number of corporate mindfulness conferences. We know we're teaching Buddhism, but they don't. Schools have been duped. Stop it. Get it out of the schools. And there's nothing scientific to support it. Now, does it have any benefit to slow down and breathe? Yes. But just because something works physiologically, that doesn't mean that it has some power behind it and that we should be practicing an Eastern religion. We all know that we're teaching Buddhism, but they don't. They, meaning the corporate sponsors that are paying for this, in order to sell, they've really had to go stealth, selling mindfulness as a scientifically proven method. It is not. A recent paper published in Perspectives on Psychological Science, 15 different, big research, nothing to support it. American psychologists found that fewer than 1 in 10 mindfulness studies had included a control group. Another study, 3,500 participants, 47 meditation trials, nothing that helps with substance abuse, being calm, sleep control, anger management, nothing. It is Buddhism, and you should let your kids, your teachers of your kids know this from the nationalreview.com. Until tomorrow, go serve your king. Thank you very much for watching one segment. You can listen to 3 more, well, if you can stomach it, for free at wretched.org, iTunes, Android, whatever your listening device is. If you have a plate in your head, you can pick up the program from anywhere around the world, thanks to the ongoing monthly support of our gospel partners. Should you be one of the people who has listened to the program for an extended period of time, meaning more than once, would you please consider becoming a gospel partner so we can continue to proclaim the good news of the gospel? Simply visit wretched.org.